Welcome back to the water cooler, everybody. We told you at the top of the show about Rudy Giuliani. Look, the feds are clearly after Giuliani. As we told you, like I said at the top of the show, federal investigators went into Giuliani's Manhattan home and his office Wednesday. They seized electronic devices. It was the old 6 a.m. raid. It appears that the feds are looking into what they believe could be criminal dealings in Ukraine. Specifically, they may be looking at whether Giuliani illegally lobbied the Trump administration in 2019 on behalf of Ukrainian officials who were apparently searching for dirt on President Trump's political rivals. At least that's how the theory goes. Giuliani's lawyer says, look, that these searches are wholly unnecessary because Giuliani offered to talk to prosecutors, except, of course, for his privileged communications with Trump, which, of course, come under attorney-client privilege. More on all of this at justthenews.com. All right, well, let's switch gears now. So is unity in the Constitution? Well, we know that it's we the people that elect our representatives. So shouldn't the president have reached out by now to Republican House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy because he represents Republicans in the House? Here was my question to White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki about that the other day in the press briefing room.
Hi, David.
Hey, Jen. Hey, a question on unity. You talk about, earlier you said you wanted to bring, or the president wanted to bring the country back together. So I guess the question is, he has not met with House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, according to Kevin McCarthy. What does that say about unity? And also there are some other legislative issues as it relates to H.R. 1 and a commission to study packing the Supreme Court, as you would say. And there's a lot of other lists as well, budget reconciliation. So there's a lot of folks, you talk about tens of millions of people, they're concerned about that this doesn't seem like unity at all.
Do you think tens of millions of people are concerned about him not meeting with Kevin McCarthy?
No, I think tens of millions of people are concerned about H.R. 1 and budget reconciliation and going with that 50-vote threshold. I think that was a concern.
I'm not sure the polling bears that out, but I will say that the president's view is that bringing the country together is bringing the American people together. So when I say he is focused.
Okay, yeah, we got it. So let's bring in Rick Green, founder of PatriotAcademy.com, who can opine on unity in the Constitution. Rick, good to see you again, sir.
I'm just wondering, was that sign language you were using there? Because I haven't seen that. That was pretty good.
Yeah, this is
hey,
sign.
Good to be with you, man. Great question for the White House. I enjoyed watching that.
Well, you're wondering about, there's a political aspect to this, but there's also a constitutional aspect to it. I want you to hit on that constitutional aspect about unity. I was just kind of going from a political standpoint. It's one thing to have words of unity, but there's been no action. What about constitutionally on this unity question?
Well, certainly no constitutional requirement that he reach across the aisle and work with the other side. But we've always done that. Even if you were just going through the motions, think of the press conferences with Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer sitting together, knowing that they're not going to agree on virtually anything, but yet they at least came together and showed the American people they were trying to do that. This administration seems to not even want to do that. And David, think about how close the margins are. A 50-50 Senate, a 5-vote margin in the House. This is an incredibly close, a very divided and incredibly close Congress that we're dealing with right now. So it just seems like good strategy if I were in his shoes to do that. But man, they are. It's not about do I have the political will of the people. What matters is do I have the political will as an activist to actually push my agenda on the American people, whether or not the other side is going to join me at all.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, I want to move on to Arizona, what we've been seeing this week out there. What do you make of what's happening with the audit? Once again, Democrats are trying to fight this in court, and then they really can't. They don't come up with the money. I guess they can't come up with the money for it. But anyhow, what's your sense of what we're seeing? The New York Times and others are picking it up finally a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah, finally a little bit of progress. Right here we are, 6 months later, and we're finally digging into some of these ballots. Of course, they're going to fight every step of the way. They got the first judge thrown out based on some intern that worked for him or something that was from the Democrat group that got hired. And so they're going to look for every way they can to stop this from happening. All we want is transparency. Hey, it may turn out to be that there were no mistakes and no cheating. We just all like to know if that's in fact what happened. So I'm really thankful for Representative Fincham and others in Arizona that are pushing this through. And I'll say, Dave, there's some positive things happening on this front. It's very late in the game that it be happening. But look at Georgia, look at some of these other states, and then look at the candidates that are now running for Secretary of State. Used to be a boring position. Nobody paid attention to it. You got a great congressman named Jody Hice running in Georgia. You got Mark Fincham now, I think, is going to run in Arizona for Secretary of State. This is how we clean up the mess. everything rises and falls with leadership. Let's get some good people in these positions.
So you're saying there's progress. You're encouraged at this point.
Very much so. Very much so. I mean, it's not no silver bullet, absolutely, and it's only a handful of states, but at least it's happening. You remember back in November, December, January, we were going, wait a minute, we got Republican-controlled legislatures that are not doing their job. It was incredibly frustrating. So now we're finally seeing some movement. Granted, maybe too little too late. Well, definitely too late for this particular election, but we got to think long term. We got to think about the next election and make sure we can get some integrity, at least in some states, and hopefully they can be the beacon and show how it should be done. Hey,
Rick, how's Joe Biden doing on upholding the Constitution as it relates to his first 100 days? He makes the big speech tonight. What have you been concerned with specifically as it relates to his first 100 days in office?
Oh man, how much time do you have? This is gonna be a couple hours.
Go ahead.
We're gonna do this.
You're paid by the hour. Go ahead.
There's so many specifics, but let me just back up and do a kind of a 30,000 feet view and say in a general way, because I really hope people watch the speech tonight. And I hope you'll be listening for some clues about the philosophy of this administration. So it's not just the specific action, but what is causing them to constantly think that our rights come from government instead of from God? Think about what even Jen Psaki said with regard to the CDC is going to give us some freedoms back, that they're going to allow us to go to a park if we've been vaccinated, finally get to sit in a restaurant maybe if we've been vaccinated and wear a mask. David, I'm just shocked that we're just now discovering that there was a typo in the Declaration of Independence for 245 years. And now we finally find out it doesn't say endowed by our creator. It's endowed by the CDC. I mean, that's new to me. I've been studying the Constitution and the Declaration a long time, but I guess I got it wrong. Look, your rights do not come from the federal government. We don't need the federal government to give us permission to go outside, go to the park, eat in a restaurant, all of those things. I'm just so tired of everybody saying, oh, the nice CDC is finally going to let us do X, Y, and Z. Our freedom comes from God, not from government.
Yeah, no, 100%, Rick. I can go on about this, about King Biden, and basically, hey, thanks for letting me have a picnic with my family, King Biden. Appreciate that.
Right.
That's really nice of you. All right, Rick Green, good to see you. As a matter of fact, no, let me take that back. Great to see you, actually. Great to see you.
Hey, you too, David. And just remember, as everybody makes their plans for July 4th, get together with as many people possible and think about the principles that you're actually celebrating. Think about freedom principles and read the Declaration with your family.
All right. Thanks a lot. Rick Green here on the Water Cooler. Appreciate it. So we've got a lot more coming up on the show. We will be back in a moment with The Last Sip. There is a lot to talk about as it relates to Joe Biden and fact-checking. The 4 Pinocchios with Joe Biden, there's plenty of them. Here's the problem. The Washington Post, yeah, you know what? They've said, I'll tell you what, we're done.